Hey everybody, welcome to Innovations in Agriculture. My name is Jim Kurtz, and I'm going to go over a topic that I've been hearing over and over again. In fact, my deputy CEO had mentioned that she was at a conference recently where they were preaching this. They were just, like hammering this into people's heads. This idea, and the idea is, don't accept a simple solution to a complex problem. Okay, that was like the mantra at this conference, right? And the idea, they just kept all the consultants, all the agronomists, it was like the theme of the show, like, don't accept a simple solution for a complex problem. Now, of course, what they were suggesting is that, the world of agriculture and the world of trying to get a crop out every year is a complex business. And how do you actually increase yields and reduce fertilizer usages and reduce pesticide use and manage all these different factors that go into farming? It's a complex business. So don't ever expect an easy one-shot solution to take care of everything, right? That was just a mantra. And it was kind of funny because I was thinking about my own technology, the Kimanasi plant booster, and how simple it is and how easy it is to use, and all the different things that it helps to handle. And I realized that a big part of why a lot of people, I think, were not believing me at first, or not really tracking with what our system can do, and not believing the results that we're seeing, is because I was presenting it as a very simple solution. And at the end of the day, from a farmer's perspective, from a user's perspective, it is very simple. You just install it and water your crops. It's not very difficult, right? But in terms of the way it works, it is very complex. All the different things that our Kimanasi plant booster handles is a very complex process. So I realized that I was kind of communicating. I was trying to simplify things down and make it simple and not go into technical detail and not go into all the elements of it, because I felt, it'd be easier just to try to simplify something and make it simple to understand. Well, apparently, what I was saying, it goes right up against what all the agronomists and crop consultants and soil specialists and bug specialists, all these guys were telling the farmers. So of course, now that I come along and say, hey, I've got a simple solution to what you're doing, of course they're telling me, don't listen to this guy, don't listen to this guy. He's offering simple, easy solutions. And look, at the end of the day, even though our system is easy to use, it is not a simple system. It's not a complex mechanism. The 3,000 unique frequencies that go into our technology is a very complicated and complex algorithm, and it took 20 years of intense research to develop the system. So it's not like somebody just had a bright idea and we put it inside a pipe fitting and say, here you go. And then, it wasn't that easy. It did take quite a lot of work and quite a lot of effort and quite a lot of research to get this all right. As you can well imagine, I mean, people have been researching these types of things for decades now. So I just wanted to let you guys understand that this is not a simple solution. Okay, even though it is very easy to use, if you don't really want to get into complexities, if you don't really want to get into a deep dive in how this works, then you can skip this presentation and you can give me a call. In fact, I'll put my phone number up there. You can call me directly if you just want to see increased crop yields. If you just want to see, it didn't work there. If you just want to see improved crop yields, if you just want to see, better fertilizer absorption, if you want to see reduction of fertilizer use and reduction of inputs and reduction of biologicals, and you just want the whole system to work much more efficiently, and you don't want to get into all the nuts and bolts and itty bitty intricate nook and cranny details of how this complex system works, then you can skip over all the presentation I'm about to show you guys, and you can just give us a call at 727-324-6750, or you can go to our website. I'll put the website up here. It's harvestharmonics.com. You can look at all the details you want there as well, or you can just email me at service@harvestharmonics.com. So if you're one of these guys that likes simple solutions, that likes to keep it simple, they don't want to try to wrap your head around how this complex system works and how it all is designed and how all these different factors are all come into play, then you can skip the presentation I'm about to show you. Just go to our website or go and send us an email, and we'll be happy to give you a quote and set your farm up so that you can have a great year this year. Okay, that's the simplicity. For the rest of you guys who really want to know, like, okay, what is this system? What is this science? What is this thing that is so complicated? If you really want the complicated and the integrated details, let's dive into it, because I do want you guys who want that complexity, want that deep dive understanding, to be able to understand how our system works and why it works, so that you're not confused or you're not otherwise thinking, oh, this is some guy just trying to create a simple solution to something that's not simple. I always get calls right as I'm doing it. I'll have to call this guy later. Sorry about that. I always put this on. By the way, when I say call today, I didn't mean right this second because I do have to present this. So I just got a call. I always do that. I always say, "Hey, give me a call on the Facebook Live," and the people that are watching live, they immediately call me like, "Hey, I'd love to talk with you, but at least let me finish the presentation. I promise I'll get back to you as soon as I'm done here." So apologize for that. So I don't want to let everybody else hanging while I'm talking on the phone with the farmer, but I will promise I will get back to you, okay, if you give me a call. So a couple of questions here before I get started here. Nadia Mohammed says, are there any home garden sizes? Yes, we do have a garden device. In fact, our garden system looks very similar to this. It is a 3/4 inch pipe fitting, like you see here. It'll be a different color for garden use. Oh, got more calls here. Sorry. I'll call them right back. And literally, I'm getting lots of calls here too. This is a very interesting one. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, I'm going to put this on Do Not Disturb so I don't keep getting calls, because otherwise I will not get through this presentation. I apologize here, sir. All right, there we go. So the question Naughty Mom has asked, do you have any home garden uses? The answer is yes. We have a 3/4 inch device here. This is actually for farms. It's got a stronger transmitter, but we do have a garden size, the same size, and it's got a single transmitter. And then we also will give you nice garden hose attachment that you can attach right to your garden hose. So if you have a home, you have a home lawn, you have a garden, you have a very small farming operation, you can give us a call or go on to send us an email here at service@harvestharmonics.com, and we'd be happy to set you up with the home use. We have those units out as well. Thank you. Very good question. So next question we have is, well, how does the system work? Again, for those of you guys who haven't seen this before, I want to show you guys and walk you through the itty-bitty details of this very complex system that is very easy to use. Okay, so the Kiminasi plant booster, again, is a result of 20 years of very dedicated research, and it utilizes a new approach to agriculture. It utilizes biophysics. Okay, biophysics is based upon the study of living cells. Okay, living cells that are all operating according to a very healthy function. It doesn't matter what the cell is. Different types of cells will obviously have different oscillations or different vibrations, different frequency patterns, right? But it turns out that every living thing has a certain bioenergetic footprint. What does that mean? That means that when a particular cell, let's say a heart cell, is operating and doing its thing, it's going to use and generate energy, right? It's going to communicate with the cells around it. It's going to perform a specific function within the organism. When the cell is healthy, it's going to give off a nice orderly energy output that's going to look something like, when we measure it on our biophysical equipment, it looks like this, a nice orderly sine wave. But when you take a look at disease cells or cells that are not healthy, we notice that the energy output of these cells is very irregular and jagged and disrupted. It's distorted, right? So, and that makes sense, right? If a cell's not functioning right, if something's not functioning right, it's going to behave erratically and it's not going to function properly. Now, again, if we just take the heart analogy that I mentioned before, we just take the heart analogy. Your heart has hundreds of millions of cells that make up the heart, and all those cells are pretty much the same for a heart, right? So when the heart is healthy and all those cells are healthy, then all 100 million cells are all harmonically attuned to each other, right? So they're all operating at the same frequency. They're all doing the same functions. And as a result, all 100 million cells that make up a heart can essentially operate as one thing, as one organ. And the heart will all beat at a consistent cadence. And of course, everything will be fine. Your heart will pump blood and you'll stay alive. However, when those 100 million cells all start to operate at a wide variety of different frequency patterns, and they all start doing this at a completely erratic pattern, on an EKG, that heart will look like a flat line. And basically what they do is they take a defibrillator, they shock your heart, stop all those cells, and then when the cells come back and they start beating again, now they're beating at the same cadence and your heart starts to function again. That's the whole promise here. So just to let you guys know that at the cellular function, this is how all living things work. And in a plant, it's no different, right? In a plant, you have the root cells that absorb water and nutrients. You have the vascular system, which transports water and nutrients through the stem and into the leaves. You have the chloroplasts in the leaves, which basically harness the sun's energy and break apart certain minerals and materials to create glucose. All these different functions are operating according to set frequency patterns, right? And when a plant is healthy, it will have a nice healthy frequency pattern. So, this biophysics can actually be applied to any living organism, right? Humans, birds, fish, animals, insects, doesn't matter. Plants are no different. Plants have their own metabolism, obviously, but that metabolism is governed by regular ordered frequency patterns. In other words, the bioenergetic process by which a plant takes natural nutrients and water and minerals and converts them into fruits and vegetables all happens according to a very set pattern. Okay. And if that pattern is disrupted or distorted, then the plant's not going to be healthy. In fact, Mr. Fulvio Baumelli, his whole purpose in developing this technology and spending 20, 23 years of his life now in developing this technology is to help people eat healthy. Because he figured if we can reduce the petrochemical use, reduce fertilizer use, and make plants healthier and more nutritious, then of course everybody will eat healthier and they have less need for medical intervention. So he studied hundreds or even thousands at this point of plant varieties, and he discovered that healthy, productive plants all have, again, a consistent metabolism through photosynthesis. That process is very consistent and orderly when the plant is healthy. And as a result, all of its biological functions are aligned. And when they're aligned, that plant can generate the maximum amount of energy for that variety. However, when we look at the same variety of plants, in this case, a heat-stressed sunflower, we notice that the energy pattern of its biological process is distorted, right? Is not healthy. And of course, just like in our animation here, that plant will not live very long. When you have heat stress, what happens is the plant's natural energetic system is disrupted, and the plant's not going to generate enough energy. In fact, what happens in the plant is the pores in the leaves of the plant close. They're called stomata. Those little pores close in the leaves in an effort to conserve water when a plant is under heat stress. But what happens though is now the plant can't absorb carbon dioxide from the air, and it needs carbon dioxide for that photosynthesis process to work. And so the energy output of the plant dramatically reduces when it's under heat stress. And now the plant doesn't have the energy it needs to do all of its biological functions. It doesn't have enough energy to create a lot more flowers and fruit. It doesn't have a lot of energy to to increase the Brix rating or put sugars into the fruits. It doesn't have enough energy to defend itself against insects or predators, and it doesn't have the energy that it needs to fend off funguses and diseases either. So all of these different problems that the farmers are chasing or trying to solve are all caused by one thing. Okay, so and that's caused by poor energy level of the plant. In other words, the plants don't have enough energy to do all those things that a plant needs to do to grow and to produce good quality fruits and vegetables. So in essence, even though the entire system of a plant's metabolism is very complicated and complex and has a lot of different elements to it, from a simplistic standpoint, we can boil all those different processes down into one thing. Does the plant generate energy? Does it generate enough energy through its biological processes to grow, to produce fruits and vegetables, and to produce high quality fruits and vegetables? And then, of course, to defend itself against insects and funguses and disease. If the answer is yes, it does produce enough energy, you will have healthy crops and a good year. You'll have very good crops, you'll have good quality crops, you're not going to have a lot of insect or fungus problems, and you're going to be a very happy farmer. When the answer is no, then you're going to be fighting these things. And that's where you have to bring in the pesticides, the fungicides, the herbicides, the microbial, antimicrobial things in the soil, and biologicals, and a lot of extra fertilizer. All these different things that you're putting money into are needed when the plant cannot generate enough energy to survive. What I'm here to tell you is there is a solution for increasing the energy output of the plant, and that is the Kiminasi plant booster. This is, of course, the technology and the product that we've developed over the last 23 years to really help farmers reduce their need for petrochemical inputs. Now, we did it from a standpoint of improving the health and quality of the fruits and vegetables. However, at this day and age, this time, here in April 2022, the cost of fertilizer has more than quadrupled in a lot of areas. So from 1 year ago to today, the price of nitrogen and other fertilizers has increased by 3 to 4 times what they were a year ago. So now it becomes not just a health issue, but for farmers, it's actually an economic issue. It's a profitability issue. You cannot continue to grow your fruits and vegetables and keep dumping all of these chemical inputs onto your crops. You just can't afford to, even if you wanted to, even if you're the guy that just believes wholeheartedly into nothing but just I need to use chemicals, and it just that's your mentality, like the only solution is chemicals. Even if you're in that mindset and you believe that the chemical method that's been used over the last 20 or 30 years is the only way to go, it's the only way you can be viable, the economics of it as of right now don't work out. That is no longer even an option, even an economic feasibility for you anymore. So even if you think the chemistry works and it's the best solution, it's now no longer even affordable to do so. So I want you to pay attention. This is the Kiminasi plant booster. This is a revolutionary product. Okay? This is not just another chemical. It's not just something you spray. This is a brand new technology, and it will revolutionize agriculture. And the reason we say that is because the benefits are far too good, and they far outweigh any other solution that's out there. So unless people just want to spend more money and want to not make enough money and want to produce low quality fruits and vegetables, of course, you're going to choose a solution that's going to provide you with more money and letting you to do a better product. So let's go into what this is. Again, our system consists of microtransmitters. So I mentioned the frequency patterns, the 3,000 plus frequency patterns of healthy, productive plants. Now, that algorithm or that program of frequencies has been stored in small microtransmitters. In fact, they look like this. I'll show you. They look like this. These are the transmitters here. They look like little computer. Let me actually share my screen for a second. So these little transmitters you can see here, right there, right there. It's in the palm of my hand there. That's what they look like. So they look like little computer chips or like little flash drives. Most of you guys are probably familiar with these little flash drives, right? This little flash drive, this little thing that I stick into my computer, it has a little computer chip and it's about that big. And that can store, I think, 16 gigabytes of information. So basically, this little piece of a computer chip here can store about 30,000 photos or maybe about 2 or 3 hours worth of video. Okay? So that little system, it can hold a lot of information. Just like this little device here, this little computer chip can hold a lot of information. You know, hundreds of megabytes of information are programmed into these little computer chips. Now, the benefit of this is, of course, and I'll go back to my presentation here, is that in a very small footprint for a very small device, we can actually attach those little transmitters that I just showed you to pipe fittings that look just like this, right? These little pipe fittings, again, I showed you the garden device here, the small one here. We have larger ones for sprayers and larger farms. They can handle maybe up to 5 or 10 acres, something like this. And of course, we have large systems for large irrigating farms also. But these little transmitters are installed onto these pipe fittings and then plumbed into your irrigation system. So essentially, every time you're watering your plants with our system attached to it, it's going to maximize the biological potential of the plant. Again, we're not using GMOs. We're not genetically altering the plant. We're not some kind of hybrid, and we're not any kind of chemical that you would spray or otherwise use. You actually just use plain water to achieve the same effects that you're currently getting with fertilizers and other inputs. So the question we say is, well, how was this installed, or where do we install this? And that's anywhere you want to see results. So our system here, as you can see on the left, has our Francesco Arlia, our CEO there, and that's an 8-inch pump here. We can treat any irrigation system up to 2,600 gallons per minute. So any type of irrigation you could probably use, we can attach to. And for small farms and nurseries, we have smaller devices like I showed you, up to 4-inch diameters. The two key areas that our system really improves is photosynthesis efficiency in the plant itself and soil health. There's about 10% of our signals that are directly influencing the microbiology in the soil to help to rebuild the soil over time, so that you would just consistently use less and less inputs. So that is kind of the deep dive into what our system is and how it works. And had a couple more questions here. Thanks, Naughty Mom. Awesome. Thank you so much. I've been watching a long time. Hey, I've called you a few times, Naughty Mom. So if you want a garden device, I'm here for you. I called you a few times and haven't been able to get a hold of you. So give me a call here and let's set you up with a garden device for your home. Okay. Next question I see here is, how long do the frequencies remain in the water? That's also a very good question. The answer to that question is that the signals will stay in the water for between 5 days and 1 week, usually once it mixes into the soil. In a pure glass medium, if you just took a sample of water and kept it out, we've been able to suspend the frequencies in for up to a month. So we actually use that as a quality control mechanism when we're testing against larger installations. We send a water sample to our lab in Italy, and they verify that the signals are at full strength. So very good question. And yeah, that's it for that side of it. So again, just continuing on here. If you guys are interested in what we're accomplishing with better photosynthesis, what we're seeing is faster, more vigorous growth, greater production, and better quality. And here again, this is something where again, just to stay topical, you know, the whole situation in Ukraine that's still ongoing as of this recording. This has been like 2 months now. President Biden said we could have very real food shortages here this year. And I think when he said that, I'm not sure if he just meant in Europe or where he meant, but the reality is even here in America, we're experiencing fertilizer shortages. It's a huge, huge problem. So not only is fertilizer going through the roof and costing a lot of money, a lot of the farmers who had locked in their prices last year thinking, well, I'm safe. I don't have to pay these higher prices because they're already contracted. They're not even able to get their fertilizer. So they can't even get the fertilizer that they need. So the reality is food shortages, if we don't do something about it, could definitely be an issue. Now, I would never come out and say that and be just so defeatist about it. But the reality is if we don't use systems like the Kiminasi plant booster or other types of systems to make the farms more efficient, it's a very real possibility that we're going to have a lot less food available for human consumption here. So let me just kind of go through a couple more examples. Sorry about that. I had kind of a dry throat. I've been talking to farmers all day long, so I apologize if my voice is kind of going here. But again, what our system does is it improves the nutrient density. It actually helps make the plants more efficient. So it improves nutrient density, plant health, yields, and also reduces the amount of fertilizer needed. Now, contrary to sort of popular belief, we can actually achieve more yield with less fertilizer if we just make the plants more efficient. In fact, we've actually seen a number of our farms not only reduce their usage by 40, 50, even 100%, but they're still increasing the yield and getting better yields than the comparable fields or control fields with no Kiminasi on it and a lot more fertilizer. So let me just walk you through a few examples of what I'm talking about here. This first one is the University of Francisco de Paula in Santander in Colombia. They're a tier 1 ag university in Colombia. And they ran a trial with us on corn, and their final results were a 100% reduction in fertilizer use. In other words, they didn't fertilize our field. I did 50% less water used on the Kiminasi field, and they still got 100% more yield on the Kiminasi field than on the control. They also got 583% more biomass in their field than the untreated field. So not only did we get double the corn yield, not only did we reduce the fertilizer use, not only did we reduce water usage, but we also got a lot more biomass for feed consumption as well. Here in India, again, they did not fertilize the Kiminasi field, and they still got a 33% increase over the lentil production in the untreated field next door. This farmer, again, didn't fertilize his field here, but reduced his fertilizer use down to 0, and also increase the Brix. The Brix is your sweetness, right? How much sweetness, how much sugar is in that fruit. So the higher the Brix level, the sweeter the fruit is. So he was able to hit Brix numbers of 25% on the Brix scale, whereas before he only got to 19%. Here we have a 67% increase in reduction, 67% reduction in fertilizer use with higher Brix and larger size in plums. Here we have a 50% reduction in fertilizer use on flowers, a reduction in fertilizer use, which 30% increase in yield on eggplants. And then the other thing, part of the reason why we're seeing these is better cation ion exchange capacities for CEC ratings in the soil. So part of what we're doing here is improving the CEC values. A case in point here is on a tomato field here, a tomato trial that we did several years ago, where we started off with a CEC of 18.3 MEQs. And then after the trial, the Kiminasi field increased the CEC to 21.3 or 21.9, excuse me. Now, the interesting thing about this is usually you'll see CEC drop like we saw in the control field. That went down to 13.3. The reason you see the drop is because the plants are uptaking those nitrogen and other nutrients. And so the CEC will usually change somewhat over the course of the season. In our case, it actually increased the cation ion exchange capacity as opposed to decreasing it. We've also seen a number of cases of reduction in water use. So if you're in an area like California where water is at a super premium as well, then we can help you with there too. Again, we're just making these plants more efficient. Here we have 65% less water use on almond trees, 300% faster water infiltration rate, which actually helped reduce that water use on the lemon trees. 46% reduction in water use on walnut trees with 30% increase in walnut production. And you see when you look at the trees, the difference in how healthy the cuminacea trees look versus the control here, because they had a lot of salt damage that was actually killing the trees off. Here we have 30% less water available for irrigation here with 75% increase in grape production here. And I won't go into the testimonial there right now, but you can watch that on the website. We have a reduction in agrochemical use. This is basically for pesticides and herbicides, those types of things. Here we have a reduction. We used 0 agrochemicals or 0 pesticides or fungicides. And also we still doubled the production of peppers here in this greenhouse in Colombia. Here we have 100% reduction in agrochemical use. Again, no pesticides or fungicides used. Improved quality and improved disease resistance. Reduction of pesticide use here with an increased shelf life and increased vigor, and also extended growing season on these habaneros. And overall, I think the reason why you're seeing a lot of these benefits is because of soil. So the 3 areas that we're seeing dramatic differences in soil health, besides the water retention, is water retention, electrical conductivity, and soil microbial activity. So what we're doing is we're seeing reduced sodium concentration and better water retention. Now, I put this in here, and this is kind of the thing I want to end with. If you guys are wondering how we're able to reduce fertilizer usage, I want you to take a look at the existing situation here around the world, because this graph is actually, I got this graph from the website Our World in Data, which is a fabulous site for getting economic and other types of reports. And this is basically on nitrogen use efficiency. So in other words, it's one thing to look at how much nitrogen is being used around the world, but let's take a look at efficiency. What this graph shows is that in the regions that are a dark blue or a medium dark blue here, that shows a greater efficiency in the use of nitrogen. That means that a greater percentage of the amount of nitrogen that's being added to the soil in forms of fertilizer is being utilized by the plants. And the way they measure that is they take how much nitrogen is being used in a particular field, and then after the season, they do nutrient density analysis or tissue samples, and they measure how much nitrogen has been absorbed by the plants. So from that, you can tell, okay, how much nitrogen is actually being used by the plants by how much is absorbed in the plants versus how much was put in initially. And you can kind of get a ratio for that. Well, in countries like here in Africa, these dark blue circles, and the United States, that number is between 60 and 100%. But stop and think about that. If in the United States they're using 60 to 80% of the nitrogen that you're using, that means you're still losing 20 to 40% of what the nitrogen you're using. You're still losing that because your plants are not absorbing that. Okay. In other areas like in South America and in other areas of the world here, a lot of these other areas, you're seeing only 40 to 60% utilization rate. In South America, in Peru, Colombia, and North Africa, and in China and India, where most of the world's population actually is, they're only getting 20 to 40% use efficiency, which basically means that they're wasting anywhere between 60 and 80% of the nitrogen they're using. So now we're all talking about fertilizer shortages and fertilizer costs going through the roof. Imagine if you could just make your plants 10 to 20% more efficient at the utilization of just nitrogen. Forget about potash and other things. If you could just do that, increase that by a 10% margin, you can probably cut your fertilizer bill in half. Just because the plants just don't need it. In fact, in these case studies that I've shown you, the less fertilizer that's being used, the better results we get with cuminacea. So it is, when you look at this whole situation, you can say there's not a complex, this is a whole complex issue in how you can get more yields and how you can reduce inputs and all this other stuff. But the reality is simple. If you just take a look at efficiency, how much efficiency your plants have, then if you can just really isolate how to get those plants more efficient and how to get that soil more efficient holding those nutrients and getting the plants more efficient at using what's there, you're going to see tremendous differences in not only response and yield, but in differences in how much you actually need. Because I'm here to tell you, if you can reduce your fertilizer use by 30 or 40 or even 50%, you probably can still increase your yield over what you're currently doing. So imagine the difference in profitability there, where you can reduce your input cost by half and you can still get more yield than you're getting now. And the yield that you're going to get is probably going to be a lot healthier for humans and livestock and anything that's eating that yield also. So I want to just end with a very simple call to action, guys. It's very, very simple. If you guys want to improve the efficiency of your farm, then give us a call, because we're all about helping your farm become as efficient as possible so that you can utilize those inputs and that water and all the money that you're spending your hard-earned money to get your crop started. We want to get you the maximum benefit. And the way to do that is to make your plants and your farm as efficient as possible. The Cuminacea Plant Booster is the next generation, and it will help you get a lot more efficient. It will help you use less fertilizer and get more yield at the same time. So if you want to give us a call or send us an email here at service@harvestharmonics.com, we'd love to talk to you. We'd love to show you how you can become not only more efficient in your farming operation, but how you can become part of the future of farming today. And it's going to help you. It's going to help everybody that's eating the food that you're producing, and it's going to help the livestock too. So give us a call, send us an email, and let's work together to make you part of the future of farming today. Have a great day, guys. Have a